It was a quiet pre-dawn morning in New Babbage, and I was readying our Perseus to depart for the day. Zergo was somewhere on board the ship as well, but the plan for the day was something a little different. I wanted to try running a salvage operation from on board the Perseus. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that the Perseus is not a salvage vessel, so to run salvage from on board I'd need to bring a salvage-capable vehicle along with me, and I wanted to try and squeeze the RSI Salvage ship, the Salvation, into the cargo bay. Could I pick one up from a mining outpost though? Now, I didn't want to retread ground by showing this all in a video again, but Harley and me had been moving supplies back on board the ship, and so to make space for any vehicle coming on board, I'd need to move some of our supply boxes out of the way. Pull a Salvation here, and if you can, I'm going to see if we can get one on board. The Salvation is just a little too big to be pulled from a mining outpost, so I'd need to visit a station. Okay, so you can't pull the Salvation here, okay. Right, that's interesting. I mean, it's good to know. It's good. On the way though, I wanted to try flying the Perseus from the co-pilot seat, and I kind of wish we could fully pass flight control over to this seat if we wanted to. So I'd have been a novelty, because I always thought this would be the way this works. On the bridge of the Perseus, you've got 3 seats, right? And right now, I'm flying the ship from the co-pilot seat. Don't get me wrong, the view is definitely not, like, the purists will say the view isn't as good from here, and it isn't. It's an interesting perspective. I'm about to put the Salvation on board. At Trustor, I'd need to dock up in one of the docking ports. Okay, docked. Yeah, we docked. We did it. So given that the ship was at a docking port and that when I call the Salvation it is going to a small hangar, I'd have a process to go through to get both ships out. Okay, so we need to... The order I do this matters, doesn't it? Okay, we're gonna... There's only one way I can think to do it from up here.
Vehicle selected.
This is doing it the old-fashioned way. This is like back in the old days what it used to be like. Where you had to like... You go to your hangar, you get the ship, you have to move it to a pad, come back into the station. That was the old way.
The biggest memory is the old ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Engines
The Salvation would be left on a pad here at the station while I ran back for the Perseus. Okay, so I've landed it on a pad, right? And from here I've got to go back in and get the Perseus. Hope that doesn't get stolen or interfered with, and then I can load it into. I can try at least. I've seen screenshots. I think people loading them into Perseus, so I'm pretty sure it will fit. I was still very unsure if the Salvation would in fact fit into the Perseus, but as I moved back over to the pads, we'd soon be finding out. I'm leaving its position now. I've got to... As I boarded up on the Salvation, I'd be joined by a dead mouse in voice. It's good to see you, mouse.
engines are
Good to see you.
The Salvation needed a little bit of force to get into the slot of the cargo elevator.
Yep. So your Perseus testing works?
Does now. But just as I deployed the landing gear, another problem. The Salvation is too long for this cargo elevator. I'm trying to fit things in it that I don't think are meant to be fit inside the Perseus.
For as small a ship as it is, it's just oddly shaped enough to be hard to get in things.
The actual bay, though, is bigger than the elevator, so I did believe I could maneuver it inside manually.
Oh.
But if you angle it, getting it out is going to be a lot harder than it is to get it in. There's no question. That's going to be fun. With the ship still hovering in the bay, I had to get out to close up the elevator. Finally, I could reboard to lower the landing gear. We were now properly inside, provided that no one opens up the cargo elevator. Did get it in. Now I could explain the process to Mouse. Basically, you can't close the elevator with it because it's too long. You have to get it into the elevator, angle the front up, right, and then fly it up inside, right? Bring the back up and then hover it while you get out to close the cargo lift, and then it will fit. But it looks crazy seeing it in there. But I have to imagine it's going to be a nightmare to get out. But we'll see. For this first salvage run, I wanted to go somewhere quiet, and the Microtech Lagrange points have always served that purpose well in the past. They are on the edge of the Stanton system and see very little traffic. Okay. As I was closing in on Mikkel 4, Mouse was making plans to hop in the salvage ship himself and come join me out here. Mikkel 4.
Okay, yeah, it's way out there. Okay.
Yes, in search of panels, because
Yep.
there used to be a hotspot for them. Maybe it still is.
I can come over there and with the Vulture and help you.
Yeah. We could do a joint salvage operation. Yeah.
The contracts are good for getting ships, and it's easy to find them.
Yeah.
They're usually next to a Lagrange point, so you can get to safety if you need to. But
Okay.
they're not very valuable.
I'd find a little piece of salvage almost immediately that I'd not seen before.
What?
There's a wreckage here, I believe. When I was approaching, it just said debris are salvageable.
Debris is salvage panels.
Okay, cool. It looks different. Now we can find out how much trouble it is to get the Salvation out of the ship.
Yep.
First thing I had to do was raise the landing gear to get it off the deck.
It's cheap hangover food.
Hovering part works, but if you raise the gear, it does hover. Then leave the Salvation again awkwardly hovering in the bay while I opened up the cargo elevator of the Perseus. It didn't like me opening the thing, but I'm getting back in. I think I might have taken a bit of damage there, I'm not sure.
The Salvation takes pretty good damage. It's not too fragile. The salvage heads are tucked away, so makes it nicer.
Reversing down the elevator was not graceful, but actually felt a little easier than I was expecting. I got it out. It wasn't that difficult, actually, to be fair.
So it's probably getting in that's going to be the difficult part.
Getting in was actually not that difficult. If I'm honest, neither of those they probably looked a lot worse than they felt, But now I can salvage. I do enjoy salvage, and I would like to do more of it, but I want to do it on my terms. But there was another unforeseen problem, getting the salvage beams of the Salvation to actually work. Out of the box, I had no function from the beams at all. Wreckage. It says no target on this wreckage, though. Maybe I'm just not doing this right, because I can't even get the lasers to fire, salvage lasers.
Make sure you have power to the lasers. You have to be in SCM mode.
Yeah. Wait, has this thing got a quantum drive? Holy shit, really?
Yes. It shouldn't, but it does. Sort of like the golem.
I assume you're already in salvage mode.
Arms are out with the little things on the ends of them, but when I click fire, nothing happens.
Does it show HD and HDR and HDL as
It
highlighted?
does, yeah,
or?
it does, yeah.
Interesting. So on your power distribution, is there enough pips in the thing that looks like a laser beam?
There's one pip, but I can't put any more in. And I've got 4 free pips, but I can't put any more in weapons.
Okay. Then,
I can fire the guns.
okay, then you're not.
Mouse had experience fixing problems like this, and so would fall back to the most basic of tech support advice. Maybe they got damaged. I don't know.
Recycling power just all up.
Alright, let's try that, yeah. It was essentially turning it off and then back on again.
Reboot. I hate to do that.
Off and on
You know, I
again,
spent
right,
days
yeah.
in support, man. It's like,
That worked. I can't believe that worked, but that legitimately did work. So
that's hilarious.
crazy.
Well,
And like, this is salvageable as well. This little fucking engine thing or whatever it is, the little engine cone. It is salvageable.
okay, cool.
It was salvageable, yes, but it was also incredibly tiny. Look at you. Yeah, this thing is like a little morsel, by the way. It's a little... It's an hors d'oeuvre.
Not so small, I'm surprised you can even...
I know, right? I know. I can only get one of the beams on it. It's so tiny. 0.1 SC.
Hey, at least it's a starter. If you want, I can go look for a panel so you can jump out to me if you want.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay. Once you know how to get the salvation in and out, it really isn't too much of an inconvenience, and at this time I figured why not cut a few steps and just leave the gear up.
Nope. Wow. Yep.
Can I leave the ship there with the mate banger? I'm gonna risk it, fuck it. I'm gonna risk it, because the landing area isn't up, it's kind of still hovering. Mouse was out hunting panels and had found a much better patch than the first sighting of Salvage.
I think I've got 5 panels. 15k up for me, so.
Okay, let me head for you. Let me head your way.
These look like the large and medium.
Alright, look at that. Those two look pretty big, to be fair, yeah.
I think 2 Doritos,
2 Doritos.
a ribbon, 2 big panels.
Now, yeah, getting into the cargo bay is easier. It turns out, yeah. I've cut some of the steps out as well. Last time when I closed the elevator, I got back into the salvation to put the gear down and everything. I didn't bother doing that this time. I just left it half hovering.
Okay.
Streamlines it a bit, you know.
Yeah, there should be a wreckage just to the, I think there's a big panel. That one's, yep, that one's a big panel, so I'll take the small ones.
And share them evenly. There's plenty to go around.
Yes. Yep.
We were at last salvaging properly, but the cinch heads the ship comes with are very slow. You swap out the heads on the Salvation.
Yes. Yes. I did the first time I had it, but I think that they've supposedly supposed to be bespoke. But
Right, okay. You imagine putting trawlers on it, God.
oh no, that would be.
The area you'd be salvaging would be bigger than the ship that you're in. Mouse would estimate the yield from a panel like this.
You should get about 5 maybe. Out of the
Hey,
big
okay. And the reason I picked one of these up, and the reason I was so excited by it when I saw it, is and I got rid of my vulture, was that I want to be able to salvage, but I prefer the idea of having it as like an addition to another ship rather than its own dedicated ship, you know. I know most people would go with the Polaris, and I do have a Polaris, but the Polaris is a lot of ship to lug around with you, right? Where the Perseus is like
it feels peppy.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
it's large, but it's peppy.
3.4 SCU at the minute, yeah. So it's actually so far pretty good. Although these heads, obviously, they're kind of slow heads, but. I'll tell you what, it does actually feel like you salvage faster when you put it in gimbal mode. Maybe that's just I don't normally do it, but I am right now because maybe it's just the way the head moves around a bit faster, you know.
There's a Dorito and then there's a big one right next to it.
I see the ribbon. As I moved on to the next panel, I only needed a little more material before the 6 SCU of space in the filler station was full. I've reached the point where I can empty the filler station. I'm going to do that. I'm flying this, so I should probably change my ship for the mothership, as it were, to consume some fluids. Before transferring the salvage tube boxes on the onboard cargo rack, I needed to replenish my fluids, so I'd EVA back over to the Perseus for a drink. Soon enough, I'd be making my way back over to the Salvation. You can empty the filler station from the cockpit here, and the boxes will deploy to the rack. With an empty filler station, I could collect another 6 SCU of salvage before we needed to really empty the ship, but Mouse had questions about storing salvage on the Perseus in all of this.
How much grid is still available with the Salvation on it?
My initial impression is none, but there is space, like there's plenty of space, there's just none of it is grid.
Okay.
We would have to come up with some interesting storage solutions down the line, but for now Mouse was finding more material.
Okay, we have 10 panels out here.
Damn, okay, cool. And more people were joining us as we continued the salvaging.
Testing salvage on the Perseus.
Salvaging on the Perseus today, yeah. I wasn't quite full, but I was going to unload. Okay, let's find out then, Mouse. Let's find out. And the next thing to figure out is how awkward is this thing going to be to unload. Right.
Very well.
There were definitely ways to unload the ship without putting it back in the cargo bay, but I was moving on again to Mouse after unloading. You could literally pass the boxes in through the airlocks, couldn't you? You know.
Yep. When I added the tractor beam to the raft, it was obvious that the MPUV is not going to happen.
Now, that hurts my heart. It really does.
Is it that bad?
No, it's just, it's not good enough. The beam on it isn't good enough. It's not as good as the Atlas. And so therefore, using it is more awkward than
not using
the built-in. Yeah. It's like, you go from Atlas, which is a really nice point and shoot, to max lift, which is pretty controllable, and then ships are a little bit sway. We'll take the swayiness and add double, and that's what the MPOV is right now.
So we can always try and cope ourselves into sanity and believe that it will be overhauled. I know it's unlikely, but needless to say, I'm trying to make myself not feel depressed.
Aww.
I just upgraded mine to something else.
Mouse wanted to take a look at the setup, so I was heading over his way before emptying out the remaining 4 SU of salvage from the filler station of the Salvation.
Flip and lift, ever so slightly misaligning it, just not even using that lift again now.
Come to me a minute, Mouse, right? Come in through the airlock and take a look at how this is arranged at the moment. Okay, I'll open this up. So, as you can see, we have, I've unloaded these boxes here, right? And I like how they're dirty as
Okay.
well, which is weird because they're new. They literally were just made. Right, watch what happens when I open up the things to get in. It does make contact a little bit with the...
Oh yeah, so I got shoved off. It's funny.
Mouse and Harley would start to move the boxes with tractor beams, and for a handful of boxes the space in here was okay, but it was clear immediately that if you were going to grab say 100 boxes, you were going to have a storage problem here.
I think we're gonna have to put some up the catwalk.
We would come up with some very novel storage ideas later on that we will see in the next video, but for now I was going to relaunch as more of our friends arrived on scene.
I'm gonna pull these up forward and see if I can put them in as little slots here.
Do we want to see if it'll fit inside the caterpillar?
Got it, okay, right. I'm coming over to you, okay.
If the front closes.
It'll get crushed, yeah. It looks
Yeah.
like it is. It looks
Yeah.
way too long for the front.
Yeah. What about sideways to the front?
Maybe diagonally? So now what we need to do is get onto CAG to make an even smaller salvage. It was nice to see that salvage with the Perseus was possible, but in part 2 of this adventure we'll see how we carry cargo on board and just how much credits we can make with this kind of activity. Plus a lot of fun hijinks along the way. What kind of trouble will we get into? Join us next time to find out. As always, I want to thank all of you at home for watching and all of our very generous patrons that you can see on screen right now. These very generous people keep this channel going with this support, and I am very grateful to each of you for choosing to support the channel. Thank you all so much. We'll be back with more from Star Citizen very soon.